Hi, it's Amber here. In this video, we will go over everything waterfall chart related, so you can learn to create a well-designed waterfall chart. I will start by explaining what a waterfall chart is. Introduced by world-famous consultancy firm McKinsey, a waterfall chart is a data visualization tool that helps to understand the cumulative effect of sequentially positive and negative values. Typically, the chart encompasses a sequence of vertical columns, which represents a distinct category. A waterfall chart can either be a build-up, which is a chart used to show the accumulation of components adding up to a cumulative sum, or a build-down, which is a chart that breaks down the cumulative sum to lesser components. The chart shown on the screen is a build-up. As seen on the chart, the horizontal axis shows the individual components, and the vertical axis shows the magnitude of the changes. Remember to include a legend that indicate what the columns represent. A typical waterfall chart has a starting value and a final value. The chart illustrates how negative and positive changes leads from the starting value to the end value. The end value is the cumulative sum of all the changes. The intermediary columns are color-coded to indicate the positive or the negative changes. The length of each column indicates the magnitude of change. Now let's take a look at some use cases. Waterfall charts are often used to visualize financial results. They are extremely useful for these kinds of visualizations because they make it crystal clear how the individual components influence the outcome. In this example, we illustrated a waterfall chart showing the financial performance of Apple after the first quarter of 2023. This chart is helpful at both visualizing the revenue and costs each quarter. The cumulative sum is the gross margin for the entirety of 2023. Further, you can add an intermediate cumulative column, making it more clear how the financial result change over time. In this example, an additional cumulative column indicating the second quarter gross margin. A total difference can also be added, making it easier to see the growth from the first quarter to the end of the year. A waterfall chart can also show inventory levels, keeping track on flow of goods in and out of a company. This example is a build-down waterfall chart. A waterfall chart can also visualize a stock price over time. Usually, a visual representation of this has multiple descending and ascending columns in quick section every time the price change. But in this chart, the average price of the stock is used to give a more understandable view of the development of the stock price over time. A project budget can also be visualized with a waterfall chart. It can help keep track on costs and savings for each stage of a project. In our last example, we will look at how a waterfall chart can illustrate cost reduction potential. As seen on the chart, the current costs are shown. The potential savings are shaded and changed costs are colored. This example goes to show how versatile this chart type is. Now I will show you how to make a waterfall chart. As always, you need to make sure that you use the best chart for the information you are trying to provide. A waterfall chart is primarily used to illustrate positive and negative changes in sequence that lead to a culminative sum, or to break down a culminative sum into segments. If it doesn't contain any of these features, then another chart might be more suitable for your data. Let's use one of the earlier versions shown before as an example. In the following, we will use Ampler as it's great at creating dynamic waterfall charts. We recommend using an add-in if you use these in a professional context, as the Microsoft built-in chart is substandard. No matter what add-in you use, the steps are more or less the same. To create a waterfall chart using Ampler, click on Ampler ribbon. Click on Ampler Charts. Choose Waterfall Chart and insert in PowerPoint. To change the data, you can simply input it in the following way. Double-click on the chart and open the Excel table. Plot in the numeric data. To change an individual data point, just click and change it. The chart instantly fit the data and calculate the cumulative total. No need to make an ending balance. The chart tool will take care of that for you. Follow these rules when changing the data with Ampler. The starting value need to start at the total cell. Make sure that positive values are an increase cell. Make sure that negative values in the decrease cell, the number needs to be negative. Add a T to the total cell at the end of your data table to get the final value. If you want a culminative sum at another point of the data, add a E in the cell. Now it's time to customize the chart. Make sure the negative and positive values are color-coded by using shape fill. Remember to change the data labels. To add connector lines, you can easily toggle them on. Don't include unnecessary elements that confuse the audience you want to convey the information to. However, make sure the chart has the following elements. Create a title to clarify the context. Make sure all the columns are visible. If not, resize the chart. Add an action title to clarify what the main takeaway of the chart is. In our example, it is, company ends with net gain in third quarter. Do you want to create a waterfall chart in Excel? A waterfall chart in Excel is rather straightforward. Select your data table. Click the Insert tab and insert Waterfall Chart. Use the Design and Format tabs to customize the look of your chart. If your data includes values as subtotals or totals, select a data point on the chart. Right-click and select Format Data Point. Open the task pane. Select Set as Total. Even though it's possible to create an Excel waterfall chart, its visual appearance is lacking a punch. For a more professional and visual alluring look, it's recommended to use an add-in. As said before, Ampler has an amazing chart tool that can amplify your visualizations. You can, for example, easily add a y-axis. The y-axis helps with interpret the magnitude of the changes, especially useful when there's a great difference in the individual category's magnitude. You can add also a CAGR, making it easier to dissect how the year has developed. The same insight can be shown with a level difference, which is the change between two specific data points, or total difference instead, which is the difference between the starting point and the end point of a range. Some best practices when making a waterfall chart. Make sure increases and decreases are clearly distinguished. If it shows a sequence of changes it need to follow from left to right, highlight the start value and the end value. Make sure the vertical axis has the same scale. Use connector lines to simplify the flow of the changes. When to use a waterfall chart. You have individual components contributing to a final total. You want to show progression over time. You want to show how negative and positive values change the result. You want to show a culminative result. However, in some cases, they are better to avoid. This may be the case if data doesn't show culminative effect, if you have too many steps, if changes are too different in magnitude, if you want to show trends, especially over long time periods. In the following, we will look at some chart types that can be used instead of a waterfall chart. Although not a substitute for a waterfall chart, a vertical waterfall chart is a different kind, often not used as much as its counterpart. In this chart type, the data points are on the vertical axis rather than the horizontal axis. These charts often show a drill down of a larger category. Here it's Apple's 2023 product sales divided by category. An alternative to a waterfall chart is a stacked column chart. We have used the Apple example from the start of the video to illustrate how different charts change the information conveyed. Here it doesn't show how increases and decreases add to a cumulative sum. Rather, it shows how much percentage of revenue is used on costs. If you use a Meko chart instead of the stacked column chart, then a third variable can be used, making the width, height, and area all insightful. In our example, the width of the chart clearly states that the first quarter revenue is higher than the following quarters. This will be harder to decipher from a waterfall chart. Like with a Meko chart, a bubble chart adds a third variable. So if you want to illustrate costs, revenue, and include gross margin, then this chart more clearly visualizes the added dimension. Further, if you have lots of data, then this chart is able to show trends. For trends, then line charts are better than waterfall charts and arguably bubble charts, as these can show data over a long period of time, and the other two will be too complicated to follow. As shown, it can also clearly show correlation with variables, as seen here when revenue, costs, and gross margin rise with each other. In our example of a waterfall showing stock price, a better option probably be a line chart, as it's able to show trends over a longer time period. An area chart is very similar to line charts, but with an area filled below the line. It emphasizes the magnitude of values over a period of time. They are particularly great at showing cumulative data as well as trends. If you have a waterfall chart about spend and revenue, but also want to demonstrate the cumulative impact over time, then these charts are more effective than a line or waterfall chart, as it provides a clear visual representation of how different segments contribute to the cumulative total. The last alternative I want to show is the Gantt chart. While this doesn't show how a decreases and increase impact a total, it's very useful for keeping track on project deadlines rather than financial insights. As we have gone over, waterfall charts are a powerful visualization tool to depict the cumulative outcome of sequentially positive and negative values. Particularly, they are effective in showing how a series intermediate values ultimately lead to a final value. Widely used in financial analysis to show income components leading to net income, or in project management to track timeline, resources, and more. By their sequential nature, they help to identify key areas of improvement or concern. The visualization of columns that rise or fall makes it very clear to stakeholders the various impacts of factors, leading to clear insights about the status of a project or financials of a company. Visit Ampler.io for more tips. If you already convinced Ampler can help you, then download a free trial of Ampler below. See you in the next video.